Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. Off the bat, I have shaved my beard. I'll get it out of the way. I've shaved. It was a part of the goals on stream for September. I don't like it. I shaved probably half an hour ago. I don't like it. Hopefully it grows back soon. But either way, everybody can laugh, say what they want. Today's video, a new build hit 10.2 PTR, and with that came a lot of demo changes. One change to AF, nothing to Destro, but a good bit of changes. Demo may still be rising even more than we already thought. So today's video, we'll be looking at that. In combat, I made a video yesterday looking at AoE, comparing Destro, Demo, and AF. Likely need to redo that video at some point because Demo is doing, well, even better AoE. So we'll see where that goes. Also, I want to mention before we get too far in the video that the 10.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet, the estimated day for it to go live on, I guess for early access is, I think, probably this coming Saturday evening. I'm shooting for. If you want early access to that, the tier 3 Felguard rank of Patreon or higher gets early access to it. But yeah, it should be a link up here as well as down below if you guys are interested in any of that stuff. So with all that being said, let's look at the changes and look at it a little bit in testing. Okay, so we're going to try and review the changes like this. I think there's a lot of changes to the Warlock class tree, as you can likely see with new talents and pictures and icons and things here. So we're going to talk about it we're going to review it like this so I can hit on both points at the same time. Probably the best way to do it. No Destro changes, like I said, unfortunately, for Destro fan. Affliction, Umberfire Kindling. So this is actually the tier bonus that they made it a buff, basically, last PTR build, and it lasted 12 seconds. But that was too short for dumping multiple Raptures and Seeds at certain points in time if you were like in combat, doing random things, refreshing dots. So it's now 20 seconds, which is more than enough time to dump recharges of Rapture or Seed. Sounds good. Perfect. So moving on from there, if you are a Demo fan, this is the build for you, like the last two builds. A lot of Demo changes. So the first few changes here. Soul Strike has been redesigned. Your primary Felguard learns Soul Strike. So basically it's like Fellstorm. He'll auto cast it now. He just learns the ability if you want him to auto cast it, dealing shadow damage. They've also removed the Soul Shard clause from Soul Strike from the baseline ability. It's just he hits the target for damage. That's all he does. It's auto cast, right? Now, on top of that, a couple new talents here: Shadow Invocation and Fel Invocation. So it's right here. Bioscourge Bomber deals 20% increased damage, and your spells have a chance to summon a Bioscourge Bomber. That sounds a lot like Volatile Fiends. If you look, Volatile Fiends is gone. This is a different talent here. It's called Spiteful Reconstitution. They basically broke up Fiends because it was too strong, I would assume. It was a very good talent. Fel Invocation. Soul Strike deals 20% increased damage and generates 1 Soul Shard. So the Soul Shard cost is tacked into Fel Invocation now. The cast time of Summon Vilefiend is reduced by 0.5 seconds, and your Vilefiend now deals fire damage to nearby enemies every 1 second while active. Keep in mind, every 1 second he's active for a long time. It's baseline, I think, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and a Tyrant extension as well if you're playing Grand Warlock Design. He's active for a long time. So, looking at the tree here, right? So, they've added 2 new nodes. Shadow Invocation and Fel Invocation are right here. These nodes right here, these 2 are not even here on retail. This is an empty space between Strength and Imperator. These are just, they've been added now. So they basically buff either Vilefiend or Soul Strike in Fel Invocation. You can see Soul Strike does more damage and generates a Soul Shard. And the other part here reduces Vilefiend. So you choose one, and if you choose this, you get the other effect, basically. It's sort of like a built into it kind of talent. I think it's pretty cool. Spoilers ahead. Your Vilefiend destroys. He's the new Tyrant now. Vilefiend is the captain now. Tyrant is garbage. This should be here. Vilefiend is the captain now. He's very good in single target and at AoE. It's sort of cool to see. So they've taken the Soul Shard cost from Soul Strike and put it into this talent here. The 20% increase to Soul Strike damage is new. Probably needed. Strike doesn't really do a whole lot in AoE and sort of in single target. But being a hybrid spell that both generates shards and does damage, it's something. Now, having your Felguard be able to auto cast Soul Strike, in my opinion, feels pretty bad. It's hard to react to like the procs coming in. You can't really track Soul Strike very well unless you have it on your bars and things. It's hard to react to the procs, the shards coming in whenever he casts Soul Strike automatically. What I've done, I've just said don't cast this. I put it on my bars. It's the same Soul Strike. I'll cast it myself. It's fine because I can't really predict when he's going to strike without looking at my Felguard's bar or whatever. It's just sort of annoying. But a glass half full. If you're a newer player or don't want to track Soul Strike and it's worthwhile and worth casting, leave it on auto cast. If it's a better option, you can auto cast it. And a good bit of the time, you won't waste a shard. You won't overcap. I was overcapping earlier, not playing around it because it's better to just manually do it in my opinion. But either way, it works. Fel Invocation is Shadow Invocation is below Strength and Bombers. So This is basically the first part of Volatile Fiends. It's over here. Once again, this has been changed. Spoilers ahead, this is a new talent as well. So it increases bomber damage by 20%. If you're going to play bombers, you need to play this. Bombers with this ability, I believe, is about the same as strength in single target. It's behind by a little bit, like less than 1% from what I've heard. And it's pretty close in AoE if you play, this talent here. Without it, you probably don't play bombers. At the same time, your spells now have a chance to summon a bomber clause. That can work without bombers being talented. We'll look at it here in a minute. Strength, if you play strength and play this, your bombers still spawn. So this is a pretty good talent. I think this is probably the better AoE build now. You don't play this, you play this. It's like 3.5% of my damage on AoE. Just this random bomber that procs. It's pretty interesting. So moving on from there, more changes. New talent, Spiteful Reconstitution, which is right here. Implosion deals 10% increased damage, and consuming a demonic core has a chance to summon a wild imp. This seems pretty bad in single target. I thought you played in AoE, and you still might. You might just pull like Felsunder and put it over here, but once again, Volatile Fiends had the Implosion clause on it, and this clause here. Pretty strong ability, likely was broken up for a reason, but you probably played in AoE. The consuming a demonic core, you don't really have many demonic cores anymore, as we know. We've been sort of over nerfed when it comes to that. It's maybe a bit of a concession to losing like Imp Gang boss refunds. I'm not sure, but it's basically a 10% implosion damage increase if you want it in AoE. It's there. Outside of that, they've changed a handful of talents. So Imperator and Malefic Impact. So these are now 1 rank talent points, being here and here. They did not indicate. Malefic Impact on retail is currently 8%, technically 8.5, and 15%. Sorry, 7.5, basically, and 15% at rank 1 and rank 2. Imperator on retail is 5% at rank 1 and 10% at rank 2. They've now made it 15% and only 1 ranks. Imperator is quite possibly worth playing in single target now. A 1 talent point talent that just has like a 15% crit strike chance increase on all your imps, which your imps, like your second biggest source of damage, is actually pretty impactful. And once again, helps with damage smoothing if they want to go that way. No more peaks and valleys, right? On top of that, the Pit Lord has been buffed by 40%. Spoilers ahead, he's still terrible. Volatile Fiends has been removed, unfortunately. This is now here. Power Siphon, a good change here. Power Siphon now prioritizes wild imps that are not Imp Gang bosses or empowered by Demonic Tyrant. Because of the imp cap and everything on Tyrant, even currently in retail now, there's a chance, basically guaranteed on here. I mean, if you're gonna like Siphon right after popping your Tyrant, it would basically eat, honestly, just in general, like it would eat your imps that were extended by your Tyrant. It wouldn't prioritize newer imps and things. So it's a fix. It's nice. Good quality of life, solid to see. We'll take it. We talked about it last week. Very cool to see that change being made. And they've also improved the Demo tier bonus. So Demon Bolt applies a Doom brand that explodes after 20 seconds, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies or shadow damage to a single enemy. Handing Gul'dan, same thing, reduces the duration, whatever. The 4-piece, when Doom Brand explodes, you have a chance to summon a Doom Fiend that casts Doom Bolt volleys before departing. Each Doom Bolt volley deals shadow damage up to 4 enemies or shadow damage to a single enemy. Now, they've left out the the raw numbers in here, heading into it. They've added just basically a single target clause to this bonus. They need to buff, they need to make it like probably 300% more impactful than it is. It is still very, very low in single target. It probably needs to be like, realistically, like for the 2 set, instead of 19,146, probably like 70,000 or something, 60,000 whenever it explodes. And the 4-piece, instead of 35,194, probably like 250. It needs to be like buffed by a crazy amount. But the cool thing is they added the single target clause to it. So tuning will likely come at this week's raid testing, and it'll probably function in both single target and AoE. So all that being reviewed, let's look at some of the changes quickly in combat. So when it comes to AoE, Mythic Plus stuff, all that, playing like a guillotine build, this is where I'm probably going to start. I ended up pulling this point from Felsunder and putting it in Spiteful Reconstitution. We'll see what happens. I don't like the name of this ability either. It doesn't seem very Demo-esque, but either way, it's whatever. So we're going to test it here. We're going to look at the damage Vilefiend does. Vilefiend is wild. It does a pretty good bit of damage. The new ability it does, whether it pumps out, works very well both in single target and in AoE. We're playing this as well. Keep in mind the damage breakdown at the end here. We're not playing bombers, we're playing strength, but you'll see bombers in the breakdown, and that is solely from this ability having a chance to proc a bomber for you, right? So let's get into it. I've had on aggressive here. We're going to siphon. Wait for an imp to spawn here. For a second, then we're going to siphon. Imp, there he is. Siphon, and go into this. I'm going to try and weave Demon Bolts a little bit here. But I'm not going to go too long, honestly, because it's sort of annoying. So, going to head in, pop this stuff, pop my Vilefiend, which feels very odd. I wasted a bolt. Feels very odd casting in AoE. I don't really know like what to say about it. It's very, very awkward. But put up a Demonic Strength here. Cast a hand. We're going to Shadow Bolt hand again. Put down my Guillotine. There's a Doomguard proc. Not like optimal testing here. I sort of scuffed the opener a little bit, but no big deal. Because the big thing here, we're gonna implode here. You're going to see how strong Vilefiend is. This burst is sort of wild. 420k burst. Look back to the video last night that I made literally on demo. You weren't bursting that high. We're bursting a good bit higher now, which feels pretty good. Trying to weave Doombrands here, it's pretty annoying, but I mean, that's just the nature of Doombrand, I guess. Sort of is what it is. Going to cast again here and implode. I've noticed that Demo sustains somewhere around like 300k, a little bit more, a little bit less than single target, depending on procs and Doombrands and all that. The damage is pretty insane. And the cool thing is, you still have your 1 minute Tyrant with Grand Warlock's design, and every single Vilefiend will have a Tyrant with it, so that you're getting a huge extension on your Vilefiend, which now does AoE damage, right? So we're going to Vilefiend here, gonna cast that Shadow Bolt, cast these dogs, set up a Tyrant, and spread some Doombrands around. Doombrand, one more here for the road. Pop our Tyrant, we're gonna Strength, extensions there, we're gonna cast some more bolts, try and get some more Doombrands rolling. Pop this, throw down the Guillotine. 280k roughly, we're going to implode into these dogs in second tier. A couple more Shadow Bolts, dogs, and implode. 290k to 300k. And at this point, like, we're hoping for Doomguard spawns. Got one there finally after fishing for a while. Sort of bad RNG, but I mean, I don't know, it is what it is. I'm going to stop right here. We have 2 Doomguards out, so they're cranking, right? That's pretty wild. They're cranking. Look at the Vilefiend damage. Look at Vilefiend. 11%. I mean, Doomguard was pretty good too, don't get me wrong. 11%. Caustic Presence. This is the new ability. This is his fire ability every second whenever he's active. It's wild. Like, he AoEs around him whenever he's active. He's active for basically half a minute with Tyrant extensions and his baseline duration. It's pretty impressive, I would say. Implosion being at 13.4, Dreadfucker's 14, Jude my pet being 21.5. And like, this is the crazy part. I mean, Demo's damage profile feels really good for M+. You can play Bombers, also Bombers being 3.3%, not even playing the ability, just playing the talent that spawns one randomly. You can play Bombers if you want a half a minute cooldown on an AoE effect. Play Strength if you want a minute cooldown on an AoE effect. Maybe you want a Sunder with Strength over like Spiteful. I don't know. There's different combinations, but like Demo's profile feels really good in Plus. It feels better than it did even like in 10. Honestly, like I feel like better than it did in 10.0. Right? It's definitely getting there. But it's going to be so odd casting Vilefiend in AoE. It's going to be a very, I wouldn't say a hard habit to break, but it's going to be something. Now, when it comes to the Soul Strike thing, so like I said, I'm just putting it on, like, don't cast it. Tell him, yo, don't cast this thing. I don't want you to do it, right? Because if he does, it makes it hard to predict incoming Soul Shards. So let me just put it on his bars here so you guys can see it. If you want, you can put it on your bars too. Got to go in here, like manually, like drag it out and click. There's a pad ability, but I'll do this. Put it on his bars here. So he's actually gonna be casting it. You can see it's like glowing. If you want to turn it off for not auto cast, just right click it, and it will have this like solid frame around it, and that works. We're gonna let him auto cast it though here, just so he can go in and we can see what it's like. We're not gonna pot this. No big deal. Not really looking at damage. We're gonna siphon now for an imp, and here we go. So he goes right on in. 4 shards, 5 shards, and soul strikes. So number 1, wasted a shard there. Great, cool, good to see. All right, it's okay. We're gonna cast dogs. Gonna bolt a little bit here. Watch the soul strike cast here. We're gonna hand again here. That's nice. He struck there for a couple more imps. That's not too bad. Unfortunately, can't go past 10. But we're gonna pop trinket here either way. Do this. Put a guillotine down. And I think it really depends a lot right there again on Soul Strike on what part of your rotation you're in when he's striking. It's just sort of random at times. Lost my calling procs that day. It's sort of random at times. I have been building towards implosions, for example, and I've been at like 4 shards going into 5, and he's soul struck, and it feels pretty bad because you're just wasting a shard, right? But at the same time, like, I don't know. It's better probably in the long run for somebody who doesn't really play Demo a whole lot or doesn't want to micromanage Soul Strike. You just say, hey, he cast it, I'll play with the shards that I have. Now, the one thing I have sort of noticed is that if he casts a Soul Strike in the middle of your handing cooldown cast, like you just saw with the opening Tyrant there, it will give you a shard. It's off the GCD. He casts it on his own, so that will go from like being a 2-shard handing cooldown to a 3-shard, essentially, if you're like, you know, playing around it. Probably never going to play around it. Chances are high. I'm just going to do this. yo, don't cast this, and just cast it like we used to by just manually soul striking, right? So like instead we open up, say you cast whatever, Grimoire Dogs, just going in, probably just strike manually. You know, there's a shard back, going to this, and Tyrant, right? In the end, as long as you're good at micromanaging your soul strike, which I mean isn't that hard to do, it shouldn't be an issue at all. It's better than overcapping a bunch, I'd say. But at the same time, if you're not good at micromanaging it, you can just put it on auto cast and it works. So I guess in a sense, a quality of life increase for Demo, depending how you want to look at it. But the damage of Soul Strike is still pretty mediocre. We weren't really doing big damage here, but it's like 2.3 and 1.5. It's about what I've seen when it comes to testing, like today on stream. It was a little higher, like 2.6 and like 1.7, but it's not 11% what Vilefiend was. It might be 2.5, even 2.5 and 2. Let's say 5% Soul Strike. Even like not factoring in the shard gen clause, the shards aren't 5% of your damage. Vilefiend's pretty wild. Let's take a look at it quickly in single target. All right, so for a single target build of Demonology, this is likely where I start with the changes. I'm still playing a point in Fatal Invocation, which seems a bit odd, because like it seems like it's a little more AoE based with your Vilefiend and things, but we'll see that it's not here. Playing a point over here in Hatred, Grand Warlocks, a point in Sack Souls, a point in Expendables. There could be a build that just plays a point in Imp Gang Boss and a point over here in Imperator and putting this somewhere else. It's hard to say, honestly. It's been a tough call. We played different talents today and things. I'm not really sure what's going to land. I think if you're playing Umbra Blaze, you play 2 points or 0 because the 1 point just feels terrible. Lesser chance, less damage, all that. Let's start here. The main thing I want you to look at, and I mean, you'll notice pretty quickly when we look at a damage breakdown, is just, you know, where Vilefiend's at, right? So we're going to siphon here, open up like usual. Not the normal dummy, but not a big deal. So we're going to cast Grimoire, Shadow Bolt. We're going to go Vilefiend, Shadow Bolt, cast Dogs. We got a refund there. It's whatever. Dogs and a couple hands here. No big deal. Not too concerned about the optimization a whole lot. Big thing, Trinket Potion. Big thing, the Vilefiend's already out. We're going to Strength and try and cycle a little bit here. Look at the Vilefiend damage, by the way. I'll try and do this at the same time. So there's Vilefiend. Let me close up the pet thing here. Vilefiend sitting at 12.5, 12.6, 12.3, 13%. Vilefiend is the new Tyrant. He's strong. It's pretty cool. Tyrant's already over. Vilefiend's still cranking. He's still rising. Or maybe he just expired. Either way, he's pretty strong. Now, outside of that, when we cycle through a little bit more here, you'll see like my imps have a pretty high crit chance because we're playing the Imperator trait, right? They're sitting at roughly 45% crit chance right now. I have 25, I think, is Demonology right now. Which is pretty high in the first place, but if you're a fan of Immutable Hatred build and all that, I mean, it's still essentially here. Like, you still have the same damage from your Felguard, pumping big Legion strikes. Vilefiend looks pretty decent, and like, it might be dropping off a little bit here, but we're playing Grand Warlock's design. We're literally Vilefiending again right now. I'm casting a Vilefiend, hoping for a Calling proc. Just gonna cast Dogs naturally, no big deal. Couple more hands here, hand, bolt, hand. No Trinket, no big deal. We're gonna hand, go into a Tyrant. And once again, watch the Vilefiend rise. Where is he? 9.3. See what he does here. 9.3, 9.5, 9.6. And you're Vilefiending literally every single minute. It's pretty cool. Now, as far as like visual effects are concerned, he doesn't really do much. He just stands in there and pulses on things. He's just chilling right there. But whether it's AoE or single target, this talent node seems pretty good. And I feel like, while we still have elements of Demonology being Nether Portal and Pit Lord and all that, like I said, Pit Lord's still pretty bad. He does like 300k. We summon him 400k. It needs some serious buffs still. If you're playing the Grand Warlocks, like Immutable Hatred build and all that, it really does sort of feel a bit more like Demo being a pet-based class. Your pets are doing damage again. You're Tyranting, which, if you're a fan of like Tyrant and Decon and all that, like most everybody is, yeah, he doesn't do a whole lot anymore. But he's buffing all the pets that are doing damage. Tyrant's here. Vilefiend's doing 4 times the amount, but it still feels good. It's a different version of Demonology we haven't had for a long time. Like I said, if you're a fan of like pet damage and all that, the Grand Warlock's Immutable Hatred build actually is starting to feel a lot like that. Tyrant here, we're going to Strength and see what we can do one more time. A Doomguard proc, which is pretty sick. Let's see, where's the Vilefiend at? He's sitting right there, 8.6. Close it up. It's actually good to see a proc here too. I want to show you the bonus. Well, the sort of lack of tier bonus, I guess, but nonetheless, what it can do, right? So, wait for him to despawn in a second. T despawn now. All right, cool. Stop this. So overall damage, Vilefiend, 8.7%. I don't think he even crit a whole lot here, did he? Sort of low. Well, it's decent actually, but half his damage is Caustic Presence. Literally, that new ability, half the damage of Vilefiend roughly. Melee, headbutt, Bilespit, who cares? Let him pulse fire. That's sick. Imps are doing pretty well. 47% crit chance on their firebolts. 1 point in imperative seems pretty good. Outside of that, you've got your tier bonus. If I can find it here. Your tier bonus is awkward, like I said. It's not... It's interesting. So we've got Doombrand sitting here at 1.2%. We've got Doomfiend, the 4-piece, sitting at 4%, which is like okay RNG in that pool. Like I said, the 2-piece, I mean, being this, it likely needs to be like 70k instead of 19k in single target for the 2 set. And the 4 set on Doomguard probably needs to be like, honestly, like probably like, I don't know, 200, 150k, something like that. A lot more than what they are. But either way, the fact that they added a single target clause to them, meaning that they work more, like they work better in single target, doing more damage, steps in the right direction. Hopefully next week, after more tuning, testing, get some buffs. So thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up. Hopefully you, I guess, I can't take this no facial hair thing. I don't think it'll look younger. I don't know. The angle is not very flattering from my camera here, but nonetheless, hopefully you enjoyed the video and answered the questions you might have had about the changes today. I guess they hit PTR for Warlock. I think there could be some demo tuning coming after this week. The Pit Lord is still really bad. The 2-piece, 4-piece likely needs substantial buffs in single target still, but they have added that single target clause to it, so hopefully things change and get better from there. And overall, dude, Vilefiend cranks. Vilefiend's the new Tyrant, which is wild to say, but I guess it is what it is. We'll see where Soul Striking things go. And I guess the AF change to Umberfire Embers is solid quality of life. So, yeah. Like always, week auras and add-ons linked to Twitch and Discord down below if you want them. They're all for free for you guys. Before we end the video, I want to give one big shout out again to my patrons. Thank you for all support on Patreon, guys. Like always, a million times. I really appreciate it. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing for you guys and creating content. And yeah, I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here as well as down below in the video description. Like I said earlier, the 10.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet should be going live. I'm shooting for Saturday, as long as everything goes according to plan. If you'd like early access to that, the tier 3 fellow guard rank or higher gets, well, early access. So yeah, we'll see where things go. There's raid testing. I guess technically today. This video is coming out tomorrow for me, so today and Friday. It is the first mythic bosses of the raid. And I think Locke, outside of all the 3 to like 5 overtuned classes, is actually looking pretty good in the raid. So yeah, we'll see if tuning has hit them this week. If not, we will see how Locke looks in Amirdrasil, and if Demo's going to be well, strong. I don't want to use the word dominating, but strong again. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.